Do you
All right,
mind
here
if
we go.
I off?
Well, you could totally shut it off. Yep, that's fine. Yeah. So welcome to a 101 of GarageBand and how to use it to construct a remote radio show. There's two things I'm going to go over today. There's two ways to make a remote radio show in any audio program that you make from home. One is to basically construct it all just in your computer. So that's like dragging and dropping existing files into constructing a multi-track kind of editing session, if you will. And then there's the record into your computer an actual radio show from home where you almost use gear at home to make your own little mini studio at home. Today, I'm mostly going to show you the multi-tracking of building with existing files and things, but know that there is a way that you can kind of record into a computer, especially through GarageBand, and it's almost like you're making a multi-track song, really, yet it ends up being like an hour or a 2-hour radio show instead. So that's the cool expansiveness that GarageBand offers. So does Audacity, but today it's about GarageBand. So first off, I'm going to share my screen and take you guys through basically from step one, how to use GarageBand. So first thing you do, open up GarageBand. And just so you guys know that folks who are attending the session today, I'm going to put my little Zoom screen over here. So if you've got a question, either open your mic and interrupt me or just like drop it in the chat and I'll try to kind of keep tabs on that to answer questions as we go. Or especially if I'm like not explaining something, in enough depth, or if I'm going too fast, catch me either way here. So when you open up GarageBand, one of two things happens. One is that it either is going to open your most recent project that you're working on, or it's going to ask you to start a new project. So for today's purposes, I'm going to just start from a new project. So we're just literally, this is the first thing you will see is it'll say empty project. Unless you're like me, where you have 17 projects going on at all times. Like again, it'll say, hey, you want an empty project? You say yes. So choose empty project. It's going to give you this create a new track pop-up window. And GarageBand actually is designed, hence its name, to actually record music at home. So you could like multi-track a guitar track coming in or a vocal track or all sorts of things. But that's the same way that you can structure a radio show. So we're just going to pretend like all of our elements of building a radio show are different instruments. So that's the way to kind of think about it. But for the purpose of having just a clean input, we're going to use mic or line in here as the selection. All these other ones will give you all these other bells and whistles you do not need. So always just pick mic or line. You hit create, and then it's going to give you kind of the main GarageBand window here. And you're looking at a couple different boxes. So over on the left here is kind of the library. You don't need that. You can just kind of disappear it off to the left with your little mouse there. And down at the bottom, it's also going to start giving you many of the different effects that you can put on stuff. We also don't need that. So we're just going to minimize that to give us just really a multi-track look right here. The other thing you'll see at the top here is that it wants us to immediately start creating music. So as in like the key and the tempo and the beat and things, we don't need that. So we're actually going to turn off the tempo and the metronome. These are automatic, so you have to kind of turn them off each time. And instead, what we want to do is we need time. We need to know how much time we've got going on in any different track that we're doing and the overall project. So the way to do that is to just click the drop-down menu here and select time. And it's going to switch this to a time stamp here instead of, again, beats or the key that we would have done it. I'd love to sing to you to see what key I could sing in, but I will not do that today. It's a different training. A little other wayfinding. Most of what they use in GarageBand is kind of self-explanatory, what you're kind of used to in using any audio software. But essentially up here, you've got your kind of rewind, you've got your stop, you've got your play. Red circle always means record, no matter what program you're using. There's this other thing that's called cycle C, which kind of just loops it. You're never going to want to loop it. Just like if you ever accidentally click it, you can always unclick it. And because it's a Mac program, you can always go to edit and do an undo. We haven't done anything yet, so there's no undo to do, but you'll see undo is always under edit. And you can undo 17 steps if you needed to kind of really go rewinding into time there. But I'll show you that again later on. Over here, just extending over to the right, this is a master volume level. You always want it at 0. So for anybody familiar with kind of like a broadcast board or a mixer or anything that's putting out a sound, even on your home stereos, there's usually view meters that show you how loud something is. And usually there's either bouncing arrows or there's a digital audio kind of light up thing that shows you a left channel and a right channel. And it'll be green, which means it's happy. It'll get into yellow, which means, hey, we're starting to get too loud. And then it goes into red and it's like, oh my God, it's too loud. We're over the 0 decibels. And you will see that same thing mimicked in GarageBand in any audio program that you do. And this is where that master control is. So it seems counterintuitive to see volume at 0 because you think it means 0, but like as in silent, but that's not the case. You can go way into the negative decibels, and that just means that you're lowering the volume really on the overall track. Or if you go above 0, sometimes you will want to boost the volume, usually on a mic track that might be recorded too low. You're again intentionally knowing that you're going above, and every time you boost a track, know that you're boosting everything in a track. So if it's a music track, that's one thing. If it's a recording of your voice or out in the world, you're boosting all the background noise too. That's called noise, like literally noise. So we'll get into that in a nuance if we have time today, but just know that you always want to record in a quiet room, especially when you're making radio from home. And then finally over here, there's a couple other, there's a notepad and then there's a loop browser. You don't need these. These are shortcuts, essentially. Same kind of thing over here. It's giving you, if you scroll over it, it'll tell you, it'll open up that library I just closed. This is like a quick help button thing. And then again, if it's like smart controls, again, it's like effects that you're not going to really need. So really in GarageBand Basic 101, you're just turning your metronomes off, you're turning this into time, and you're just basically managing this with a stop, play, and record here. Below that, basically, this is the beginning of what's called multi-tracking. So we've got one track, one glorious track right now of audio, and you can change the name on here by just doing a right click and rename it. And so say, let's make this one the vocal track today. And if I want to make another track, I'm going to hit the plus button. Again, it's going to make me choose mic or line in, and that's what I always want to choose. And boom, now I've got a second track going, and it wants to be helpful. So it's trying to pull that library back out, and you say, no, I don't need the library. I'm going to close the library again. But again, I'm going to rename this one. And this one I might say, music, the music tracks I'm going to put into the show here. Okay. And really, for the most part, you might just need one more track. And essentially the way we're thinking about this here is, I'm going to call this music 2, really getting fancy with the names here. But really, I'm creating kind of like the effect of having one CD player and a second CD player to be able to go from one to the next, or one input to the next input if I was playing a record and then to a CD player. So that's what we're replicating here with, again, the vocals being your mic, if you will. And what we're going to be able to do then is be able to drag in or record different audio wavelengths to then basically construct this like a puzzle. You'll see this visually start to kind of lay on top of each other and then start to overlap to basically be able to start doing things like a fade in and fade out and those kinds of elements. But really, that is the building blocks of multi-tracking in an audio platform. This is true for Audacity. It's true for the fancy programs in Adobe, all of them. So I'm going to pause for a minute and see if you guys have any questions about the basic wayfinding here for GarageBand. Making sense. Okay, great. So you'll see here that at the top of all of these multi-tracks sitting on top of each other, we've got the timestamp. So if I started to hit play, there's nothing in any of these. We're not recording. It's starting to count up time, right? So you can just watch it play. And the cool thing about GarageBand is that I can grab this little playhead and move it by just holding down my mouse to anywhere that I need to go. And I'll have to hit stop here for a minute, but I can also drag it while it's not moving and it stays where it's supposed to go. This is a great feature in GarageBand that doesn't exist in some of these other programs. It'll just kind of keep playing for you and you have to be like, wait a minute, no, I really want to be right at 11 seconds exactly. And you can kind of drag it to try to get right there. Now, if I wanted 11 seconds exactly, you can see I'm a little over. The way to get in there is to make your whole file or your whole track that is bigger, as in like we're going to go into minutia milliseconds now. The way to do that over here is this little right hand kind of like drag out, and it's like a zoom in and zoom out here. And I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. I'm pulling it to the right with my mouse here. You can see that it's expanding 10 seconds into the milliseconds between 10 seconds and 11. You see that? And so now I get to drag the playhead again, and I can get exactly at 11 seconds. This is super handy when you're getting in here to edit and be like a real like ninja editor. For the most part, you're not going to have to get this detailed, especially for basic shows. But this is like how you zoom in to kind of really get it where you stop saying end or you're trying to pull out an or something like that. And then again, you come back over to your zoom and you pull it back in by, I'm just pushing it to the left here while I hold my screen down, and it pulls the screen back out. So again, zoom in to kind of get in there and zoom out to get back out. I'll show you that again once we start putting stuff in there. Then finally, and I'm going to mention it again, all the way up here, hidden in the upper right, because Mac sometimes doesn't like to do good design, is a tiny, tiny little sideways arrow. Can you see that little gray tiny arrowhead that's like up here just above my side-to-side arrow? Now, when I hover over this, it turns into an end marker. An end marker is clutch, and the thing that you really need to remember to do at the end of recording anything. This could be a 30-second promo. It could be a 2-hour radio show. You're telling GarageBand where the end of this audio project is. So if I wanted this to be a 30-second promo, what I would do is I would drag this marker. I'm holding my mouse down. I'm just dragging it in to around the 30 seconds right there. And I'm going to stop. And now what's going to happen is if I hit play here, it'll go all the way to basically the end of the file, and it's going to know that at 30 seconds, it stops no matter what. And so when I go to export this bad boy, it's going to just stop at the 30 seconds. It's not going to be that full minute. And this will be one of the first many mistakes you make where you go to finish a 30-second or an hour-long show or something, you export it, and all of a sudden it's strangely 3 hours and 5 minutes. And you're like, what? Where did that come from? And it's because you didn't set your endpoint correctly. The endpoint just keeps getting added onto when you start dragging stuff into here. It'll just keep pushing it further out as the further that you have files kind of sitting in here. And I'll show you how that happens here. But that's an important thing, is knowing where your endpoint is and knowing how to zoom in, zoom out. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to start throwing stuff in here. So usually what I do is when I'm going to make a radio show, and I'm a music show maker, so I'm always like basically creating music shows, and I've got music files to work with. So the first way I'm going to show you this is that you already own your music files. That's by far the easiest way to create a music show from home. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, this first track I want to drag in here. I make a little playlist of the order of songs I want to play in. This will be easier to do, right in iTunes or something, especially for your first couple of shows. But I'm going to start with this Jalen track, Anyone in Love, and I'm going to drag it into my first. And I literally just drag and dropped the file from iTunes right into GarageBand. So a couple things that are happening. Number one, visually, you can see this cool song in here, right? You see the visual different elements. I'm going to zoom all the way out by pulling it to the left. And you're going to see that this song's about 3 minutes long, and it has a fade out at the end. And you see how that endpoint has now pushed out. It's not 30 seconds anymore. It's pushing out to the end of the song. Again, it'll keep doing that each time I add another song on here and keep building the hour out of the show that we're going to make. But if I hit play, it's probably, I hope that's not too loud for you guys. I didn't test the audio settings in Zoom here, but essentially I'm like, great, it plays because it's highlighted and it's blue. If it was orange or kind of browned out, or I don't know what color it is on your guys' screen, but if it's darked out like that, it means it's muted and it's actually not going to play. So if you ever accidentally see something visually that's like kind of grayed out like this, or it's not playing, two things are possible. One is that you've accidentally hit the mute button over here, which is just literally the little kind of universal volume thing, and it visually tells you the difference with the color, which I think is great. Or you have the volume on the particular track all the way down, because again, you can see just like the master volume, it's the same kind of design on these different multi-tracks. So if I pulled this all the way down to the very bottom and I hit play, it would also basically be muting it. So what I want to do is until I fully build out the show and I start messing around with levels and fades and stuff like that, I'm just kind of constructing a show right now. So I'm just going to drag in my next song. So here's my next one. Again, I can just drag it in, and it doesn't matter where it's going into this visually, because I'm going to start dragging it all over the place. So I'm like, okay, my first song's in there. Now I want this next song to happen. And really the kind of like janky way to do a fade, unless you're actually in the studio doing this live, is to just visually look at this, but also to listen to it. So I'm going to come together here right at this fade point, and I'm going to push play. That one song is fading out. So visually, I know that that's probably going to work because I see a fade out on one song and I see the next song starting what we call hot. So right at the start, there's no fade in, it's just a start right there. And that little bit of fade creates a nice crossover effect that, that you can mess with as much as you want, basically. And again, for now, I'm leaving both these tracks at 0, 0. So that's the rate at the 0, 0 decibel. That's going to be more than adequate for when you eventually export the project here. Okay, so that's basically how to import tracks. The one other quick thing I'll show you is that, say, you're doing a show for us, right, for GDR, and we ask everybody to sometimes include a PSA or a fun drive promo is coming up, right? All right, Lou told me to put a promo in there, so I'm going to come find a promo. Tell you what, I'll give you one of the super breaking ones that have not been heard yet, because I've been recording these all day. So I'll give you the one I just made of our kid Sam here at home. Super cute. And just for the sake of kind of being able to visually keep it, again, music versus music, I'm going to throw this one up in the vocal kind of track here, as you can see. So I'm going to move it all the way to the end here. And my endpoint just moved for me. And again, I'm going to see where visually I'm going to zoom in so that I can kind of place it correctly. So that this song's going to fade out, and then the beginning of the Fun Drive promo is going to play. So let's hear how that sounds.
Follow Fun Drive. Please give by October 20th. Central Vermont Community Radio. WGDR. Plainfield. WGDH. Hardwick. You got this. Let's go, team. Thank you, listeners.
Okay, so if we don't raise a lot of money off of that alone, I mean, maybe we should just broadcast that 24/7. But the point there is that you can see again how I just faded without doing much from that song right into the promo, and now I can do one of two things. Throw another song in here, maybe I throw my vocal tracks in next. But literally, guys, that is all you have to do when you're building a music show and you've got your own music files. And I'm going to show you recording your vocals next, but I want to pause again to see what questions you might have about the drag, drop, fading, and stacking that we just went over. I take silence as understood. So, okay, right on. Okay, so again, we're building a show here. One other hack I'll give you, since we're kind of doing this off of a kind of a pre-existing show, is that I, again, in GarageBand, made myself a little show and intro, that I put at the front of every show I have. It's kind of a way to brand your show a little bit. It is not required in your first even 10 shows. You don't even ever need a show opener if you don't want it, but it's just kind of a nice thing to do. And you already are going to be recording shows from home, so why not do a little production and make yourself an opener? What I do with my opener, I'm going to drag it in here and let you guys listen to it here. And again, I'm going to mute one track so we can just listen to one where I don't have to really have it in here necessarily. But what I do is I have the little intro for about, I don't know, 20 seconds. And then I have a music bed behind it. So then I come in with my vocals and I put my vocals over this music bed. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But here's what a show intro could sound like.
Hello there, dear listener.
Hi.
This is Get Fresh.
Get Fresh.
This is Get Fresh with DJ Lou.
With DJ Lou.
2 hours of new music from the record labels and the web.
DJ Lou, Get Fresh.
And I will keep using Sam to the end until he decides that he's old enough and 18 to not be part of any promos anymore. But then it's just bed music. So bed music is instrumental music with no vocals. I really want to emphasize that putting an instrumental behind your vocal tracks is a lovely thing to do for your listener, unless you intentionally want it to sound very stark and have it just hyper-focus on your vocals. It also allows you to hide things like ums and breaths and complete your thought, especially if you're going to be recording as if it's live. So if you're reading something, or if you're just kind of talking off the cuff and being like, oh, all right, we just listened to Anyone in Love, and now we're going to go into this next one called The Right Track. Oh, and by the way, it's the Fun Drive, blah, 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 blah. Having a vocal up behind there is going to be really helpful for your vocals to just kind of keep rolling. I can't describe a different way than that. You'll listen to the station and hear the difference between somebody who is talking with no instrumental behind them and somebody who's talking with an instrumental. It's just a kind of more pro way to do it, I guess I'll say. And the other thing I'll say too is that when you have instrumental music in the background, make sure that you're bringing it down. So you'll see visually that I did that already with this intro here. When I did the production on this, it's the 0 decibels right there at the intro. And then I dropped it, probably looking at that wavelength, I probably dropped that down to like -50 decibels or something. It's real low so that it's still there. You can hear it, but my vocals are going to be the most primary thing that you hear. Hopefully that makes sense there. Here's a fun hack. Say, you know what? I do want the show intro on this. So how would I move these 3 other elements here on my screen here? Because I already threw them in here. Well, here's how you do that. Drag and grab them all. Okay, so I'm just clicking my mouse down. I'm dragging and highlighting all 3 of those. And then I get to move them exactly in their same position, but further out a little bit. So it's saving my little transitions that I already put in here. How handy is that? Okay, so let's record a vocal here for a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another line in here, basically. I'm going to hit create. And here we go. I'm adding a different one because now I've stolen my vocal track. So I'm going to rename this to intro. And now audio 4 is going to be renamed to vocal track. And here's what I want to do so that I'm not accidentally recording over anything. I'm going to mute every track I'm not working on right now. So I only want this vocal track, and I'm clicking on it as well. If you click on it, it highlights it, and it basically tells GarageBand, I want to work either recording or editing only in this track. But sometimes you forget. You're like, oh, I want to go and record or something, and then you might accidentally record over something that you've already got in there. So by muting it, visually, I'm telling myself where I am, and then I can remind myself, oh, I got to click on the actual vocal track that I want to record into. So 2 ways to record in. If your room is pretty quiet where you're recording, you can just use your onboard mic that you have on the Mac here. It actually is pretty decent. The other thing you can do is just plug in a pair of headphones that has a little mic on the little cord, right? That's actually acts almost as what's called a Lavelle mic, what the TV anchors use in their studios. What that does is it actually kind of sits right here on your chest, and it gives that warm bravado sound that comes from our chests. It's really lovely, and it's you don't need to go out and buy any expensive fancy mics. You can just kind of use literally a plug-in mic, and it'll probably sound pretty darn good for recording in this way. Again, if your room is quiet. And of course, you could go out and buy a fancy mic. Why not? You're a station manager. It was COVID. Buy some, COVID stuff online. So this one right here is the most standard one you can use. Everybody who does at-home podcasting has it. It's called a Yeti mic. It's like $100, and this is literally rock solid. You could kind of, drop this on the floor and it would kind of live another day. This is nice because it comes with a USB cord. You plug it in, and your Mac will just recognize it as the mic that you want to use, and then that will be what it records onto. But if you want to pick which kind of thing it's recording onto, say I have the Yeti plugged in, but I don't want to record into it, all you have to do is hit right click here, basically. And you're going to want to, let me see here. That's actually not it. What you want to do is come up to GarageBand, and I believe it's settings here. This is where we get into, so settings. And what you're wanting to do is go to audio. And this is similar to like if you ever need to mess with your Mac settings for audio as well. That's kind of, you go into settings and it all looks pretty much the same, general audio. And in GarageBand, it adds on metronome and loops. But really, this audio MIDI is all you're going to look for. You're looking for output device and input device. Output device, it will be one of two things, either the speakers on your Mac, or if you have headphones plugged in, it'll ask you to pick the headphones. It'll probably pick that for you. And then your input device, which is the Yeti microphone, and it knows that because I have it plugged in. If I unplugged it, let's see how it just forgot that the mic there? I unplugged it and it switched to my MacBook Pro microphone, just what's on my microphone or on my Mac. So I'm going to plug the Yeti back in. It'll take a second, but oh, this is great. So if you get feedback, here's what it's telling you. Hey, heads up, do you want your monitor on or do you want your monitor off? And you actually want your monitor off because you're going to be using your own headphones or, again, your speakers on your computer. It was trying to kind of pick the Yeti mic also as a thing to monitor, because on the mic itself, you can plug in headphones onto this. So it's thinking that this could be a mic and a headphone thing if you want it to be, and we don't want that to be it. So good. I'm glad I actually made that mistake, because then it shows you when you get that feedback thing, just say, no, I don't want to monitor it. Okay, so that's it. Now, did you see what the cool thing that's happening now? Look at these view meters going right here. It's because I've got my mic on and it's ready to go in the right track. This, again, is visually telling me that this is where this is going to record when I start talking here. And it's already sitting at a happy 0, 0 decibels. So I can see that that's pretty healthy. And when I'm talking at this particular level in the room I'm in, that's pretty good. Now, I'm also talking directly into the microphone. So a quick and fun tip on microphone ethics. You really want to give a microphone your full attention. If you start looking around the room and talking, or looking up or looking down, or you're sitting far away, it's going to start dropping the volume quality on your mic recording. So when you're ready to record, just make friends with your microphone and give it your full attention and talk really into it. And I also consider it kind of like eating an ice cream cone, right? If the creamy is right here, you're going to keep your mouth right here. The creamy is not over here. The creamy is not over here. So if you've got something to read, pick that thing up, keep your mouth right on the creamy, and hold that, thing right where you can kind of keep reading. Even if you need to be looking around at a guest, if you're in a live studio, or if you're at home recording with someone else, you kind of want to awkwardly keep your mouth right here. That's why people do that. If you ever see, tiny desk concerts or people recording, they keep that microphone right in their face for a very good reason. Okay, so enough about mic etiquette, plugging in and settings. Let's hit the record button. So I've highlighted the vocal track. I'm just going to hit the red record button. And now we start making some magic by just simply talking. And maybe we're talking about the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to play you 2 songs because it's the shortest music show ever. I will also do a quick fund drive promo, and then we're going to wrap the show. Thanks so much for listening. Here's my name and my show name, and we'll be here together between now and whatever time I'm assigned. All right, here's the first song, Anyone in Love. Thanks for listening. You hit the red end record button. It's still going to keep playing. I don't actually know why it keeps playing when you hit stop record, but it does, and you just hit the unplay. It's not pause, it's unplay. It's not even a real function. But anyway, it stopped the playhead, which is what we want. Now, we're going to go back and we're going to listen to that real quick. Show, welcome to the show. We're going to play you 2 songs. Super great vocals. It's nice and rich. It's like this person's done this before. Good job, person recording, okay? But I did hear some stuff in the beginning that maybe we don't want in the show. So we got to do a little quick editing. Let's do it. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to zoom in just on this vocal track right here. I'm going to pull it all the way up so that I can get nice and right in there with this audio wavelength. The more you guys start to record your own voice, you're going to start to actually, in a creepy way, recognize where your ums are and what they look like. And you're going to be able to just go in there and take them right out. I actually encourage people to leave most of your ums in there because it creates a conversational effect for you, as opposed to getting them all taken out. And that's honestly the difference between listening to public radio like VPR and listening to community radio, is that we are not over-polished. We haven't either trained ourselves to not say ums, and we have certainly not overproduced ourselves to take ums out. So unless it's like, you're really like, what? Ooh, I just really messed that up. I got to take this out. Note to self, edit this out. Leave them in there. There's really, it makes you charming, I think. Okay, so let's say I want to take out this first little section. And now we start making some magic by just simply talking. Nobody needs to hear that on the show. So I want to take this little first section out. I've played it to the end of where I want to make an edit. And so what I'm going to do is my first edit here. I go up to, I believe it is, I know the shorthand cut on my keyboard, but I'm trying to remember where it is on the drop down. So give me a second here. Yeah. Oh, duh. It's under edit. Yeah, Lou. Okay. So under edit, we're doing a thing called split regions at playhead, AKA cut. Again, Apple, could you just call it cut, please? The shorthand on your computer is V. So if I have this track, or excuse me, it's T as in Tom. So if I have the track edited or highlighted, I have the playhead right where I want to kind of splice this or cut it. I'm just hitting what is that called? The command button, and then the letter T as in Tom, and it's going to split that right there. If I move further down the track, and I know I want to cut it right here too, I'm going to again hit command and then T, and it's going to split it right there too. I know I want this to go, so I highlight just that little box. I hit delete. I've made my first edit. Boom. It is that fancy, y'all. There is nothing more really to it other than just to listen to your track. And maybe we're talking about the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to play you 2 songs because it's the shortest music show ever. Maybe I only want that as my total vocal. And so I'm going to just delete the rest of my rambling. And boom, it's gone. And say I want to use this intro that I just had here. So I zoom back out. I turn my monitor off, monitor off. You can also mute your microphone, and that will also help with that monitoring thing. So I've turned my intro back on. I'm going to drag my vocal track so it's going to be in the intro section that I have here. I want to play it just kind of where it makes that transition.
DJ Lou, get fresh.
And maybe we're talking about the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to play you 2 songs because it's the shortest music show ever. And that's it. So now I'm like, okay, I know I'm done with my music bed. I'm going to again edit that, cut it. So again, I'm going to hold down command and T as in the letter Tom. I'm going to delete the extra. And now I got to bring the rest of my show back together. So I'm going to drag and drop these guys back into the lineup so they're all warm and snugly next to each other. And again, this song, for the most part, starts kind of hot, if you will, right? So it just starts, there's no fade in. So if there was a fade in, I might pull it under my vocals again a little bit, but it's going to be a hard start. So I'm going to create that fade effect in this last step that I'll show you, which is to create a what's called a manual fade. And this is the weird thing about GarageBand. I'm sure there's a way to do this that isn't this janky way I'm going to show you, but you're going to learn the Lou janky way. So you go up to mix, and you're going to go to create volume fade out on the main output. In other words, it's going to put a fade on this whole project that we have, okay? So when I click that, it's going to activate these volume levels here on each track that are these yellow lines. The yellow lines stand for that 0, 0 decibel level that we've been talking about tonight, right? So it's like the 0, 0. If I moved it down, it goes into the negative, and you can see the little volume number is coming down. It means it's going to be much softer. If I crank it all the way to the top, it's going to be much louder. I want to have it sitting right at 0, 0. But what the yellow lines do, and it added this master track at the bottom here, is that this is the master fade now on and the volume control on the entire project. So if I came all the way to the end here, you'll see that it put a automatic kind of AI induced fade at the very end. Sure, I want that at the very end. It never puts it correctly though. I always have to kind of move it out, and I just do a kind of, I don't know, like a US Olympic diver drop right there like that. I don't do like the multi-step fade out there, because usually there's nothing there at the very end of a show. It's just kind of silence, or it's a song that's going to fade out anyway. So that's good enough. But what I've wanted to do is actually get this activated up here so I can do a fade on the music up here. So I'm going to click with just a click right on that yellow line. You see how it added a little dot right there? Let's fade in one more time here. And what we're doing is we're going to take this dot, and I can move it by just grabbing it and moving it towards the end of my talk break, which I can see visually is right here. I'm going to click on this line one more time, and I'm going to drag it down, and I'm giving myself a fade right there. Not a haircut fade, to be clear, but a musical fade or a audio fade. So let's listen to that and see how that sounds. I'm going to give myself, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds to let it fade the music there. Shortest music show ever. So you see how it faded my background music there for me? I might give it a little bit more of a dramatic or slow fade. So the longer that line is kind of pushed out, the slower the fade out is versus being very dramatic. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to turn my other music tracks back on. So we're going to hear it go from intro to my vocals to the first song.
Lou, get fresh.
And maybe we're talking about the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to play you 2 songs because it's the shortest music show ever. You're seeing the magic, everybody. All right, so I'm pulling this all the way back out. I'm going to pretend like I just did this 15 to 30 times. So Levi O, just so you know, roughly your average song length is 3 to 4 minutes, and that shakes out to be about 15 songs for an hour. Now, that doesn't count your talk time. That doesn't count any poetry, doesn't count anything else you want to put in there. So if I were making a 1-hour radio show, I would probably look to pull between 12 and 15 songs, again, depending on length of those songs, to build out the hour. The wonders of doing a show not live, in other words, recorded, is that you can nail it. You can get right to that 60-minute mark because you can either fade it or you can put a shorter song in at the end. But let's pretend that we did it, okay? So we've got 15 songs in here. I have maybe 3 or 4 talk breaks, which are important to do because you want to tell people who you are. You want to make sure you tell people what they listen to, intro the next little section of songs, and certainly say goodbye towards the end of your show as well. So we're going to pretend like we did all that. We have, like, you know, again, multiple tracks here. And now the final step is to, how do I get this out of GarageBand and share it to WGDR? Well, here's how you do it. First of all, big no-no. So don't do this. I just did that whole thing for you guys and I didn't save it once. So new rule, new training rule. When you create a project, save it, and save it like 3 or 4 times as you're making it, because Apple's pretty good about auto saving, but it's not perfect. So what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to go save as, like you would do any other project. It's going to save it in your own little GarageBand folder there. So I'm going to say practice show. And it's saving it as a project right now. So this is a GarageBand project. It's not an audio file yet. Okay, it's not one audio file. The second thing that you would do when you're getting ready to export. So again, you want to save it one final time. You're getting ready to export it. Every other audio program except for GarageBand has a step called normalize. Normalizing is very important because it basically tells your program that you want everything to kind of come together and be smushed into one audio file where it's looking for anything that seems too low, it's going to boost it a little bit. And anything that's like too high, it's going to take it down a little bit. You've already visually and done this through editing and making sure that nothing is wildly out of volume, but it's just a nice extra step to do. So as you guys are part of the station, you will hear me say, please normalize your tracks, especially to people making them in Audacity, because sometimes people have wildly different volume levels and are not attuned to making sure that they're recording it at 0, 0. And so normalizing it at the very end kind of saves their butts a little bit, is the best way I can describe it. This is especially true if someone's doing an interview in Zoom or something, and like, you know, say the guest has a really crappy mic, you know, it's going to be able to boost it each time that person's talking without you having to go in there and do it for, you know, manually as an editor. All right, final thing to do, and this is the beauties of an integrated software system like a Mac. You're going to go to share, and you're going to share it to music, aka iTunes. And right now, this is pulling up title, artist, composer, album, playlist. And it's going to put it out as the highest quality MP3, which is what we want. You don't have to touch any of these settings. All you have to do is in the title, come in here. And this is where you're putting the show naming protocols that we tell everybody about in the station manual. And Levi O, for you, the show is Radiotherapy, right? And then you're going to do an underscore. And then you're going to put the date of your very first show, which I think it's the 12th. So 10/12/24, okay? Or you can do 2024. The date is for actually the other Levi and I to visually, and other robot team members to visually make sure, okay, that's the show that's supposed to come in on the 12th. The name, Radiotherapy, and with no space, that's an important thing, is for the actual Mac at the studio to know which smart playlist in iTunes on that computer to put it into. And we have humans visually checking this down each time, but without that title at the beginning of your show correct, it won't know where to pull it, basically, and it'll just sit in iTunes. And sometimes that's the number one reason why a show doesn't play correctly, is because it didn't get named correctly. You leave everything else blank. We don't need genres, we don't need albums, we don't need any of this other metadata. We just need the title, which will essentially be called the song title when it gets over into iTunes. This is what the standard piece is going to be. So Levi O, Levi K will remind you of this as you're getting closer to your first show, but this is basically the naming protocol. It's like your name, your show name with no spaces in between it, an underscore, and then the date that it's supposed to air. Then I hit share. And depending on the length of your show, this will be anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes. If your computer's a little bit older, the converting and the bouncing might take longer. Hello. This is also why I did a mini show for you, so that it wouldn't take that long. But it threw this into iTunes, and it pulled it up, and it automatically started playing it, which, thanks, iTunes. I didn't just spend 3 hours making this. Why do I need to hear it again? But it's going to make its own automatic Garageband playlist. So I usually go to my songs, and I always have it sorted by date added. And I just come up to the very top here, and there's that show. So as you see, the title, the show, the song title, if you will, is what we just named it here, Radiotherapy. There's the date, and it's looking good. But here's the last step. It's an AAC audio file. So this is kind of like almost a WAV file. It's actually bigger than we need, both bigger than we need to send it through Dropbox, and also bigger than we need for it for broadcast purposes. We just need an MP3 file. So the last step is in your iTunes. You come up here to File and Convert, and we're going to create an MP3 version of it. Now, you notice that I have it highlighted here in red. So it's going to pick this track, if you will, to convert to an MP3. And again, depending on how long that is, it might take 3 or 4 minutes if it's like a full hour or 2-hour show. But usually it's pretty quick. And then this is the version right here that you want to share with WGDR. So the last step I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a web browser. And all the Levis who are with us today, this link for the CVCR remote contact Dropbox is referenced both in the station manual, and it's on the programmer part of the website that I talk about a lot. There's a footer on wgdr.org. Since I'm sharing my screen anyway, I'll show you. You scroll all the way to the bottom, and it's kind of like the users only section of the website. So this is the programmer login. You click on that. It is password protected because there is a roster of everybody in their personal contact info. So that's why it's behind this kind of block wall, but it's WGDR as capitals, 2022, I believe is the password I just entered there. I'm being cagey about it because I'm remembering I'm going to put this on YouTube. So I actually don't think that's the password. I'll share it with you guys later. But you just hit enter basically, and boom, here we are, the programmer resources. And there's links to everything in here. The new music that we put through the Dropbox for programmers to be able to use in their shows. Here's some Audacity stuff and all of that. But there's also the link for sharing your Dropbox submission. It's right here. So if you ever need to kind of come get that direct link, let me know. But again, Levi K will share that with you, Levi O, as like the final steps to reminding you to kind of get that show done and get it in. So I have it obviously bookmarked, and it's a standard Dropbox. But this is the number 2 reason why shows don't come through correctly. First is people don't name them correctly. Second is that they're way too big of a file. It's like a WAV file, and then it times out because it's like too big to send through the internet. The third is that people don't know how to use Dropbox. So with respect, number 1 is you're going to have to make a Dropbox account that you can use, and that could be your own Dropbox. You don't have to pay for it. You just need to be able to create an actual Dropbox. There's still a free version. And then when you click on this unique link, it's going to create this folder for you as a shared folder. It's called CVCR remote content, and it's going to give you this area right here to upload. Now, this, you want to make sure you're in the actual folder to do the upload, because if you're just on the regular Dropbox, it kind of looks the same, but you're going to be uploading to your own Dropbox account. You're not giving it to us. So make sure that CVCR share file, which I just navigated away from, so I'm going to backtrack here. Make sure it says CVCR remote content right here, and it's got nothing else in there. That's another indicator that this is the right place to be dropping it. And again, if you use the unique link, it'll take you right here. And then all I'm going to do is take my brand new first radio show ever and drag it right in there. It's going to show me that it's uploading. It's going to show me it's successful. And through the magic of radio, not really, through the magic of computers, it's going to whisk away out of this Dropbox in about 10 minutes onto the computer that's in the studio in Plainfield. And it's going to get scheduled to air. And boom, you could tune in on October 12th at 9 a.m. and hear the very first show of the show air correctly. Those are the